Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities and ETFs that I follow. I'm going to interject my financial opinions, and if you need any help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where we talk about individual companies, individual sectors, and you can ask me questions directly on the markets and how I'm playing the markets. You can also see the companies I buy and when I sell, if I do sell. You can see that history as well. So let's dive in here. Let's take a look and see what happened today. We've got the DXY here. We've got some major moves in the DXY and in interest rates today. Massive moves lower. So we saw CPI come out. I guess it was a little bit less than expectations, and the markets had sold off in terms of buying bonds, selling off in terms of the interest rates coming back down is what I mean by selling off. And then the DXY has followed that. That is basically a strong correlation to what yields do. So we're seeing the dollar really move to the downside. And just by looking at this, we could say, it's probably going to impact gold in a positive way. It's going to impact emerging markets in a positive way. And anything that is non-dollar denominated is going to strengthen against the DXY. And most of the time, when the dollar goes down like this, those things strengthen or appreciate against it. So when we look at yields really dove down today. I talked about this yesterday that we had broken out below this channel. We've come back up. We were up against resistance. And I said, I don't know if we're going to break up or break down. And today we got our decision. We broke down. Where CPI came out, a lot of the times when you get up against resistance or something squeezes to a corner, news gets released and then it breaks in one direction or the other. The reason we may have squeezed might be insiders know what information is coming out and they create the pattern, offloading shares at certain deals or buying bonds or whatever it is. Up into a corner and then it breaks either up or down. So we've broken down to the downside and it's a pretty strong move in yields in a daily move, which is 4% in yields to the downside. And that's going to have a dramatic impact on the way that assets are priced based off of those yields movements. The 10-year also down 4.12%. Like I said yesterday, we were squeezing up and it was potentially a continuation pattern to the downside. So it did break to the downside, and we could pull back further to the downside with yields. And again, that's going to be tailwinds behind precious metals. It's going to be tailwinds behind emerging markets and some of these other assets. Could be a huge tailwind behind home builders as well as mortgage rates come off. I think the housing market could reignite, and that's something we should all be watching. We've got the 30-year yield down 2.59%. So that also has fallen to the downside on the long end of the curve. So the whole curve fell today, and the shorter end of the curve fell a little bit more than the longer end of the curve. TYX TNX ratio, it is launching to the upside, which means that the 10-year has fallen greater than the 30-year. Think of the 30-year being anchored or more anchored, and the short end of the curve coming down more. And is this going to be the spark that really rallies this to the upside? If it is, what I would like to see is gold to move up, silver to move up, and the gold and silver mining companies to outperform. That's where I think we could potentially see, and I think that's probably going to occur here. And we may get a move to the upside, signaling that gold, because if I put gold underneath this, it is very well correlated to these low to high movements, the gold price to the TYX TNX ratio. And I think we could easily move up in the right market conditions for gold to move a lot higher. We've got TLT bond prices moving on up. Again, I said we were kind of squeezing up and we punched to the upside, not the downside. And we'll see how much we can move here. We've got strong resistance at 93, so we can move up to about 93. And then I think we encounter a little bit more resistance up there. And again, the 2-year, 10-year, we're still kind of squeezing because the 2 and 10 really just went down together. Didn't really make any movement of an uninversion of the yield curve there. So gold moving on up, $16.50 an ounce, still above all this support below us. I still think it looks good to eventually work its way on up. Silver also ripping higher today, up 3.5%. Could this be a inverted head and shoulders? It very well could be. And we could get a big move to the upside if we break some of these key resistance levels. The first key resistance level, 2350-ish. Another resistance level's up around, if we can break through 24.75, $25. Another strong key resistance level. We get through all that, we'll be sailing. Platinum also ripping to the upside. We've got strong movement today, 3.22%. Looks good to continue higher. Maybe this was just a false little washout sale where we slingshot to the upside. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Palladium also up 4%. This could be a bottoming of palladium. And maybe some of those platinum group mining companies, you never know. They might look pretty good down here. XAU to gold ratio, massive outperformance of gold and silver mining companies against gold, which was up today. Gold was up 0.85% and XAU to gold was up 4.15. So money is rotating into the precious metals area, the gold and silver mining companies. So this is one to watch here, and this very well could be a double bottom here, where we come down, we come just below, and then we rip. Let's watch it. Let's see what happens. CRV index, just slightly lower today. I still think we're going to go higher. Continuation pattern. It's a little bloody nose is what I call it. Everything still looks good from that perspective there. CRV to S&P 500 came down a little bit. People probably initially running into S&P 500 and NASDAQ as yields are coming off. GDX massively higher, 4.8%. And again, we still got some resistance ahead of us that we have to break through, but good day today. GDXJ, 5.7% up. Again, good move up, but we still have resistance. And SILJ up 6.8% with a good, strong resistance ahead of, right on top of us. We've got work cut out for us. We still got to get through all that resistance. And if we do, that's where the fun starts. Crude oil basically sideways today, down 0.05% or so. It's yields falling. They don't necessarily impact crude in a negative way, but it doesn't really help it either. So it's kind of a neutral environment for it. We've got TTF gas moving sideways, 0.09% lower, but still looks good, still above support. Everything just moving sideways. And nat gas down a little bit, 3.3%, still above support, still just moving sideways. XOP, we saw fund flows going into XOP, even though nat gas was down and oil was sideways. Funds did still flow into XOP, and I think XOP looks fantastic as we continue to squeeze in this corner here. Just give it time. Give it time, and we'll eventually break this neckline here, I think, to the upside. OIH also up 1.6%, despite the weakness in natural gas and sidewaysness in crude. So we are up 1.6, and again, we're still within this channel, and we'll see what happens over time here. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust, just sideways. We have encountered some resistance here. I drew that across. We got to break through all this. And we may pull back, and we've had a monster move here. Not really much of a pullback, and again, I don't expect a pullback. It can do it if it wants to, but momentum's to the upside. Just hang on to this bull. URA up 1.5%, continuing to move higher. We are almost at a closing of all-time highs here, so we're real close. It's looking really good. It's almost as if we've got some sort of like cup and handle deal going on here that we could potentially break and move on to the upside. So that looks really good for URA. It's looking very strong. URNM also looking very strong. It looks like we are closing almost above the 52-week highs. We're real close. And hopefully that momentum can continue. That's all I'm going to say. URNJ is just amplified move of all the rest. TAN is really liking those lower rates, up 10.4% today. It looks like it's trying to put in a bottom here. So that's looking good for TAN if you guys like solar. COPX up 4%. That also looks really good. Nice big pop higher. It looks like it was trying to put a bottom in, and we popped on up today. We do have a big gap that we may or may not need to fill. Lithium up. It does look like it's trying to break through its downtrend line, and we'll see if we get follow through tomorrow. REMX is in the same position. We're trying to break through. It sure looks like it's turtle heading through that trend line, and I think we're probably going to break through here. A lot of the times what happens is you break through, you do a retest, and then you get to run. So we might have to complete a retest, backtest move of the trend line break. SPX, the S&P 500, really loving those lower rates. It is moving on higher. So that looks really good, and hopefully the momentum can continue. And we could almost say that this is, in fact, maybe a continuation pattern to move higher, and that's breaking that today. NASDAQ also breaking to the upside, looking very strong. And it looks like we can continue higher. Could we get a double top here or something like that? It's possible. But again, short term, looks good to go higher. Carry, the commercial banking system, looks fantastic to move higher. What this always looked good when it broke the downtrend. This is your return move, and then we popped up today. If we do a weekly look at it, this is a nice big bullish engulfing on the weekly if we finish the week strong, which indicates that we could easily head much, much higher. And this could be a Livermore accumulation cylinder where we break to the upside. Emerging markets, weaker dollar, weaker yields. Emerging markets are really taking off. You can see that big flag pattern basically and the break to the upside. We've got strong resistance right where we're at, and we'll see if we can punch through or if we're going to come back and sit here for a little bit right at resistance. XHB punching through 6% up today for the home builders, and I think this is an accumulation cylinder where we could go way higher to the upside with regional banking, depending on where these interest rates ultimately end up. One thing to watch is housing starts. Watch the housing starts. If the housing starts shows resiliency and starts to head back up, and the home builders start to keep, they keep moving up, I think we're going to go into a housing market boom, which is the exact conditions that I've described the entire time where that could potentially happen. If the rates come on down, it's going to come into the affordability of a lot of people, and I think the housing market will kick back up. Residential real estate. MU also moving up with the rest of the markets. Quite strong move today, 2.8%. It does look like we've got kind of like a double bottom deal going on. And again, let's hope the momentum can continue. Copper moving on up, but not really a confidence-inspiring move. We're still sitting below a lot of resistance. We have not broken to the upside yet. So let's just wait, see where this thing goes. Iron ore up 1.5%. Iron ore is ripping it. Not that we didn't know that. This is a big consolidation pattern. We've broken to the upside. There is a lot of upside potential in this, and it's about I would say it's about the same peak as here, about 220. We're probably going to almost double in iron ore price, is my guess, and that's just the beginning. It doesn't mean it stops there. This also, to me, looks like a accumulation cylinder that has formed and could be a very big move in iron ore and steel. And again, we are positioned for that on the website, and we've got our individual plays to play iron ore and steel. And you guys know, if you're a member, you know which companies I like in these sectors. Nickel I'm not going to talk nickel. Aluminum moving sideways between resistance and support. So support's the lower one, resistance, and we've just been bouncing back and forth. We haven't broken out yet, but some of the companies really did move today in the aluminum space. Baltic Dry Index slightly higher. I still think Baltic's going to look really good here if iron ore moves on up and if coal starts to participate. Coal down a little bit today, but I really think this is a good spot to be looking at potential coal investments based off of where we're at and where we're located above support and above that base. Breakout, retest, and I think we could continue to move higher over time. Bitcoin down, surprisingly, I wouldn't have guessed this, but Bitcoin's down 2.6% and Ethereum's down 3.8% back to a support level for Ethereum and still above much support in Bitcoin. So strong selling pressure day, but I don't think that there's no trend lines that are broken. Nothing looks too bad for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think it just is going to take a little bit of time to turn this thing back around. But overall, guys, everything looks really good. I mean, everything looks really good. I know that inflation slowing down. Well, who knows if the numbers are doctored or not? But inflation's definitely slowing down. We've got upside movements today in a lot of different commodities. Iron ore is looking really good. Copper is still kind of sitting below. The home builders are looking really good here, and same with the regional banks. That's kind of our drivers. And our drivers, if our drivers continue to drive, then I would just be patient with everything that lags behind it. And again, let's watch housing starts, and it'll come out here next week or two. The housing starts data, we'll see where that goes. Again, it's probably going to be pretty weak, and if rates start to come down now, maybe a month or two behind it, they'll start to strengthen. So that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website if you'd like, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.